Welcome to the Dream On podcast. I am Travis Gentry here with Julia Gentry. And hold on. One of the things that we forgot because we haven't done a podcast in a while, is to ask each other a question just off the cuff. And the first thing that comes to mind, we didn't do that last time. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Wait, I still have not introduced myself.
I just did. I said, you're Julia Gentry.
Also, in the last episode, we talked about who we were.
Oh.
And I wanted to update everybody who was listening with who I am.
Go.
I am a faith-filled fire starter. That's who I am.
I like it.
I'm Julia Gentry, the faith-filled fire starter.
I like it. So if you didn't listen to the last one, go back and listen and you'll understand what she's talking about.
Who are you?
I can't tell you. You got to go back to the episode prior.
Suckers.
And then after this, we'll start saying it and we'll introduce ourselves with that. That's who we are.
Okay, great. Ask me a question.
Okay. My question, we'll make it simple, is what is the scripture right now that is really standing out to you?
Psalms 55:17. And it talks about David saying, every night I take my need to the Lord, and every morning I move my soul to him. And every waking hour in between, I worship him and him alone. That is rocking my world, because every night I crawl into bed and I just take my need to God of all kinds, whether it's a dream, a fear, a worry, a prayer, a hope. And then every morning I literally mentally, emotionally, spiritually, move my soul to him. And then I'm just every moment in between, I'm literally doing it. I'm not just quoting the scripture, I'm actually doing it. And it's been huge for me.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
No, it's just one question. It's just one question.
Sorry,
one way.
Stella's trying to get her groove back again. I don't remember.
I'll say it real quick. Rules. I don't know. So it's faith without works is dead. So that's the one.
It's so good.
It's really, every morning I think about that and I'm like, okay, I got to have faith. You got to have faith and believe in what you want to accomplish, but you got to put in the work.
Which is great, because that's exactly what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. Putting in the work. Let's talk about putting in the work, which it's so funny because the title is Ignite Your Passion, which sounds great. Everyone would probably buy that t-shirt. They'd buy the coffee mug. They'd get the hat, Ignite Your Passion. But then if you notice, the tagline is embracing the work you've been avoiding, right? Which is something I say to our community all the time. The fire that you're wanting is in the work that you're avoiding. So the passion that you're wanting, the fire that you're wanting, the connection that you're wanting, the magic that you're wanting is on the other side of the work that you're avoiding. So I think it fits into that scripture really well.
That's good.
So let's talk about that.
Speaking of t-shirts, I just have to say, so this is one of the shirts, and then On Earth Dream Dealer. So you can't buy them, but
brought to you by our sponsors who don't sell them.
Yeah. The sponsor is us and the Dream Factory & Co. But if you do come to our event, then you can purchase one of these shirts.
So you wait for next year, November 2nd.
You got 1 year
360
to prepare.
60 days
to get ready.
But what's exciting about even these t-shirts, I know this sounds crazy, but for anyone who is in that faith-filled journey of dreaming and doing and manifesting and making things happen, I've visually seen these t-shirts, right? This brand for years. You and I have been talking about a brand that just evokes conversation. It evokes the fire. And so this year at conference, Dare to Dream conference, for those of you who are like, what are they talking about? We just hosted our second annual Dare to Dream conference. It was incredible, but it was so cool to see our dreamers wearing this new merch, the things that you and I have been talking about behind the scenes for the last 10 years. So it looks as good on you as I had imagined.
Yep. And just to piggyback on that,
yeah, it does. Thank you.
is what I've realized and what I think we're both starting to do, and piggybacking on creating this merch that you're selling at the event only. But we wear this, and it's, instead of wearing a different brand, which is fine, but wearing our own brand and things that matter to us, to look down to when you're looking in the mirror to see something consistently throughout the day. And so my new, I'm going to wear what means something to me, that says something about who I am or where I'm going.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us about, let's loop in a little bit of, again, I don't need to say sorry again, but for the fact that we've been gone for 7 months on this podcast, and let's loop people into when you talk about igniting your passion, and that the fact that what you're oftentimes wanting is in the work that you're avoiding. Talk to us about your journey in that these last 7 months, because to bring people up to speed, you didn't kind of sort of change careers. You completely changed careers
Mhm.
um, at the age of above 40. When most people are like settling
Less than
in.
45.
Somewhere around 40 to 45, you guys guess. But it's like that age where most people would never dream of doing that. And they would be addicted to just doing what they've always done. And it's just too hard to learn something new. And how would I create the revenue to do that? And I'm not going to have the time. And I have the kids and all those things. And so I've actually watched you front row, not only do hard things, but do hard things well and in integrity and with incredible character and resiliency and vulnerability. And so I just would love for you to share with me, but of course to those listening,
Mhm.
how?
Well, I think so. Going back to, and you'll have to listen to the episode before here, but part of who I am is a truth seeker.
Mhm.
So over the last couple years, we've had the world flipped upside down, and my passion and desire is to seek truth in all areas of life. And through that process, it has led me to find this new kind of career, which encompasses so many different facets of the economy. And so it also allows me to live out the other side of who I am, which is an adventurer.
Mm.
So I can do this business from anywhere in the world. I can do it on a daily basis, or I can do swing trades, which
Mhm.
is days, weeks, or even months. And I'm utilizing the skills that I've already acquired through real estate and understanding markets.
Yeah.
And so this really is packages who I am.
That, which is so interesting, because I think that that's probably why you've done the change so gracefully, is that you have found the thing where your purpose, passions, and talents like collide.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got purpose, which God's saying you're a true seeking adventurer, which is who you are. You've got passion for economics and wealth and doing things differently and numbers, right? You've got the passion behind that. And then you've got the talents. Like you've just got this ability to see things differently. That is not, I don't think that that's, I don't want to say you can't learn that, because you can, but I think that God gives, that's called discernment, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
have the natural talent of discernment. And when those things come together, I think that's where, right, the fire happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the ignition turns on.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you find that though? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because there's been bits and pieces like throughout your career. And so even if someone's listening to that going, oh, good for you, Travis Gentry, I'm really glad that you figured that out. They're like, here, but you do you. But it's like, how does someone get that perfect formula to come together? Because that is where I mean, we're seeing this in your life now, where all of
Yeah.
those things are coming into alignment. You're like, this is it. Like, and not that that's not been hard. And we'll talk a little bit about that today, but how do you get to that sweet spot?
Well, it's allowing yourself to go on that journey. Like, yes, it's always easy to say. And I think in the past, probably over a decade or 15 years ago, you would look at someone successful and you'd be like, oh, it's easy for you. And then you're like, once you come to the realization of like, are you willing to do what they did to get to where they're at? And most people aren't.
Mhm.
And so once we started that process of like, no, I want to be the best version of me, and it's going to take time and effort and energy. There's been so many trials and tribulations in the midst of that to get me to where I am now.
Mhm.
And I'm just scratching the surface on what I'm doing, but I have a true passion for it because it's allowing me to truly live out all the things that of who I am.
So good.
And so it's just been a journey. Like I knew about this, and we actually talked about it with our first business partner about incorporating or adding or, maybe exploring it a little bit, which is equity trading, stock trading. And I wasn't interested at all.
Mhm.
So it was the right
Time,
thing,
yeah.
wrong time.
Oh, interesting.
And so now looking back, but then it's
Or
like,
right time, wrong identity.
or wrong identity, because I was so committed to learning what we were in.
Yeah.
And it was like to add something else that was total foreign to me. And it seemed, it just wasn't in line at that point with who maybe I thought I was, or what I wanted to focus
Yeah.
my attention with on.
Yeah.
So it's just been an evolution.
Yeah.
And there again, going back to, if you're listening to this and you're not liking the results that you're getting in any area of your life, it's just the decision to say, like, I've got to change something.
Okay. So then let me just share my dirty laundry too. Okay. So I felt very convicted. It was right before we moved from Bend. So this would have been January, February of this year.
The third time we moved from Bend?
I don't really want to talk about that. That is not the point.
We've lived in Bend.
That's actually not the
three
point.
different times.
It's not the point I'm trying to create right
Okay.
here. 2023, January of 2023.
Okay. The third time that we lived there. Okay.
I just was really convicted because I was slacking off in my morning time with the Lord, and I was not lifting till failure. It physically, and I was grumbling and complaining about the results that I wanted. So here's always when you know as a person that it's time to make a change, is you know the change that you're supposed to make, you know the results that you want, and you grumble about the in-between, right? It's different if you don't grumble about the fact that you don't have money. Great, do you? Like, if you're not grumbling about it, nobody cares. Nobody's hurt, right?
Yep.
If you care about where the economy's at, you're cool with who the president is, you're okay with where your marriage is at, great. There's no need to grumble and complain. But the minute that you start going, I want to change it, and now I'm going to grumble and complain about it, no, you have to
or
do
complaining
something.
about your circumstances.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like not having money, you're complaining
correct.
about it.
Internally or
Being
externally,
overweight, you're complaining 100%. About it,
The
but not
minute you
doing
start
anything about it.
complaining about it and not doing anything
Yes.
about it, so that's where I
Yes.
was at. And so what's been fascinating about that is that I wanted the results of pull-ups and push-ups. I wanted the results of an incredible morning routine with the Lord, and I didn't want to do the hard work.
Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense.
I just felt entitled, like I should think about it and have it.
Yes.
Think about it and I should have it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and then I was like sick to my stomach because I knew that I was doing that.
Yeah.
And I could feel myself going, why am I resisting this? Like, I know now that I am resisting the exact thing that I'm supposed to be doing. And I was hiding behind, a routine that I knew, a workout routine that I could manage, one that was like, got me to the point of failure, but didn't suck, and it was just so fascinating. There was a day I was sitting on the couch, and you came downstairs, which you never do when I'm trying to pretend like I like my quiet time. And you sat down, and I don't know if you remember this day, but you sat down, and I didn't say a whole lot, but I invited you into kind of just a little bit about where I was at. And you looked at me and you said, when are you going to just let your fire shine? And it was one of those things that I was like, what? And you were like, when are you going to just kick it into high gear? When are you going to believe in yourself? When are you going to stop hiding? And I was so convicted. It was one of those moments that I wasn't going to argue with you. And I felt seen, and I felt heard, and I felt convicted all at the same time. And then you just got up and walked away.
I know, because I had to go. I had to go to the charts.
You had to go to the laboratory.
My beat laboratory is what I call it. I had to go to the beat laboratory. So no, I do remember that morning.
So he came in as his truth-seeking adventurer, and he sits down in the middle of my quiet time, and he drops the bomb of truth, and it awoke, like there was something in me that went, he's not wrong. And in fact, what if he's right? And it invited me into a journey for the last 7 months that I have been doing everything that I wanted to avoid. I've been doing pull-ups, I've been doing push-ups, and I've been getting up at 4:30 a.m. almost every single morning since January. And it has completely changed my life.
And do you feel better?
Oh my gosh, I feel stronger. I still hate pull-ups and push-ups. Like, I don't love them. I didn't fall in love with it, but I love the results so much that it's the first thing that I do when I get into the gym. I don't do the other things that I prefer. I do those first. And even on the days that I'm tired, I still get up early, and I still am faithful in that routine, because now I'm on the other side of it working, which proves that whole concept of everything that we're wanting is on the other side of the work that we're avoiding.
Well, it's like there's a quote, and I can't remember exactly who said it, but it's basically, if you choose a life of ease, your life will be hard. If you choose a life of hard, your life will be easy. And it goes back to that. Like, you can say and sit there and be like, man, I wish I had those results. but you're not willing to put in the push-ups or the pull-ups to get the result. But now that you're putting in the hard, it's actually easier and you feel better about yourself as opposed to just grumbling and complaining.
Which is hysterical. So let us think, and anyone who's listening to it right now, think about the thing in your life that you're avoiding right now. And consider doing that thing every day for the next 66 days. What kind of results would it give you?
Or forever.
Well, but here's why I say this. So I came to find out that there's this thing called the 66-day formula. And it's this study that was done in the UK that actually creates 3 different sets, 22, 22, and 22. And in this cycle of creating new habits and routines, I call it, they have a different names for it, but it's 22 days of breaking, 22 days of building, and 22 days of becoming, which is the phases that you go through of breaking the old habits, which suck. You hate it. You don't like it. You feel totally incompetent. Then you're building, which you're like, some days it's awesome. Some days it sucks. Some days it's awesome. Some days it sucks. And then you're becoming. Yep. And so why I'm saying 66 days is not because you don't keep doing it, but is that if you quit on day 20, you never see the results. Yep. If you quit on day 40, you never see the results.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the study that has really proven that by day 67, you actually start to see the results that you were after on the very first day that you started.
Totally. So can I push back on that?
Sure.
So I think that there's a study to contradict or make most people right in any situation. Wine is good. Wine is bad. Chocolate is good. Chocolate is bad. You're working out, this diet is the best diet. And no, this diet is the best diet. So what I have seen and experienced firsthand is just make the commitment to get the results.
Totally.
And I understand the different workouts, the 90 hard and all that. But what I've seen time and time again is that people do it for that period of time and then they stop doing it.
Right.
And it works. So if you have, okay, I'm going to do it for 66 days, but what I've adjusted for myself is if I'm going to commit to something, I'm just going to commit to being excellent at it.
Totally.
Period. I'm not going to say 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I'm committed to it.
Yep.
So whether you're working out or whatever, make a bigger commitment than your natural tendency is.
Yeah.
So I hear that.
Well, but let me finish this.
There's so many studies that you can find a study for anything.
I don't disagree with you, but I think the power of understanding that is on day 67. Here's what you have to understand is that it's going to work so well that you can't not stop doing it. The idea here is that there's actually what's happening behind the scenes is why we have a propensity to quit is because we're not seeing those results. So to those who aren't mentally as resilient as you might be, the study has showing them that we have a propensity to quit at the 5-yard line. Now, if I want it enough, I'm going to go past the end zone, right? I'm going to keep running because it has me. I don't have it yet. But what this study did is that when you get to the other side of the 67 days, you finally get the taste of what's possible. And then you have to have the discipline and the connection to that thing to keep going with it. Does that make sense?
I totally hear you.
Sometimes it's these roadmaps that I think help carve out, it's like if you had to go to the bathroom and I was like, Travis, hold your pee until we get there. And you're like, is it 10 years, 10 minutes, 10 days, or 10 seconds?
That's totally different.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. If I have to go to the bathroom, I'll just go.
I'm just saying at some level, it's if you go, hey, you've got 10 days, you're like, oh my gosh, versus 10 minutes versus 10 hours. What happens is that it allows us to do the hard, which most of us don't have the mental resiliency of just going until we get to the result because we don't know if we're a prisoner or a hostage. I don't actually know how long that is. Here's why this has been interesting is that once you get to that point, you can lose yourself to the process. Now the goal has you versus you having a goal.
But okay, so pushing back on that again, why do so many people quit though after was it 90 hard or the first 60 days of a New Year's resolution? They give themselves, I'm going to do this for the 30 days or 60 days, or they stop drinking for 30 days. And then after 31 days, they're drinking again.
Okay. Cause I think
they hit that waypoint. They may feel better. They may be getting the results, but then they start doing what they've done in the past.
100%.
So what is the difference though for people that set a date. They get to that date, they feel better, they look better, they're getting some of the results, but then they stop. Like, I would love to know the percentage of how many people set a date and then stop at that date, as opposed to saying like, wow, I actually got the results I wanted, so I'm going to keep going.
Oh yeah. So no, it's like, it's 58% of people set, I want to say it's around 58% of the people are even setting New Year's resolutions anymore. Like it's a low,
So that's
it's a
like
low percent.
42, not even like
They don't even set them. They don't even
one.
set them. And then of that percentage, it's like 8% are still going mid-February because of all of those things. Here's how I've unpacked this in my own life and watching hundreds and hundreds of people at this exact same crossroad. I think it's a couple of things. I think when we do things like 75-day hard, that's actually not a sustainable
it's 75, sorry.
program. That's okay. It's not actually a sustainable program. So it's going to jumpstart you, but that was also not for someone to like lose weight. That's for someone to like jumpstart. So what happens is someone does that, and then they go from one pendulum to the other. So the idea of also 66 days in someone's head, why I just like this study, is that you go, I can't actually burn out. I have to be able to sustain this to the point that it's a lifestyle afterwards. Most of us want the quick fix. So we're wanting to do things better, faster yesterday. And so we're doing things in such a short amount of time, or we're maxing out in 75 days.
Yeah.
I'm going to do 2 workouts every single day, that the percentage is so low that I can't sustain it. Also going back to the identity, even if I hit the goal and I finish some of these programs, my internal world is still going, I'm not who this person is. I'm still poor mentally. I'm still poor emotionally.
Yeah.
I'm still, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get to the finish line, but I can't sustain the finish line. Why? Because I don't have the character to hold the weight of the blessing.
Yeah.
I changed externally, but I didn't change internally.
Yeah. Well, it's like what I was saying. So what's going on in my head is like showing a picture of a beautiful view at the top of a mountain and saying, do you want to see this? And they're like, yeah, I want to see that. Not knowing that it could take you a week or it could take you 10 years to get to the top of that view. And it's like, is it better to know how long it's going to take you or not know?
Oh, that is such
just
a good
getting the results.
Whew, that makes me nervous talking about it right now. Okay, so let's really go there. I think what we're talking about now is it a standard or is it an expectation? Is it a real dream from heaven, or is it just a nice idea that makes you feel good?
Yes.
Right? Because if it's a real dream, in theory, the answer would be, it doesn't matter how long it's going to take.
Yes, exactly. That's my point. So if you're going to do something and you're going to lose weight and you say, oh, I'm going to do it for 60 days, it's not a full commitment.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. No, let me rephrase this so I'm very clear. I'm glad you're saying this. I'm not saying I'm going to do it for 66 days. 66 days is what carves a new habit within me to keep doing.
So then why do you set 66 days? You just say, I want these results.
Because I'm saying what happens though is that, okay, so also the conscious competency ladder. I'm unconsciously incompetent till consciously incompetent. There's a process that's happening behind the scene, which is awareness. So if I understand the tools that God's given us, right? If I understand how the mind works, then I can leverage the mind. So if I know that when I'm learning a new skill, be it climbing a mountain, be it writing a book, learning the guitar, if I know that, oh, wait, I'm going to go through a phase called consciously incompetent and it's going to suck and I'm not going to know what to do that. And then if I know that I go to this consciously competent, which means my consciousness and awareness is growing to my skill set. And then at some point I can play the guitar upside down and backwards. I know that. That's actually scientific research that has proven that that's true. Now, this study is just going, hey, by the way, to give you some rule of thumbs, there's a 66-day program here that's happening in the muscle memory of the brain that you can use as a tool. Now, if someone's only using the tool without the heart, it won't work. So if I'm only saying, okay, I'm going to do this for 66 days, and then I'm never going to do this again because I don't even want it that bad. And if I don't get it by day 63, then actually it doesn't even work at all. Now I'm dealing with my heart. So there's a mindset tools, then there's a heart set, and then there's the ability to have the dream set and the skill set to get it done.
Yep. So I love that you're convicted by the 66 days. So no matter what I say, totally.
I'm just saying, so let's not get hung up on that.
No.
I'm just saying it's one study.
But some of those, what Julia is talking about is in the book. So if you haven't read the book, pick up the book as far as competent. And so some of those skills are in the book. What I would say, going back to how you said it, is it a God dream? because a God dream doesn't have a timeline on it. And to me, when you said that, if you put into what you want to accomplish in that frame, is this a God dream? Is this like, should I be healthy for like, because God wants me to be a good steward of the vessel that he gave me and be the best that I possibly can? That's different than I just want to get in shape for, bikini season this summer. That's totally different.
Yeah.
So it's the mindset behind it of like, no, I want to be healthy and I want this to be sustainable.
Yeah.
I want to start this business because I have a passion for whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't care how long it takes me to get there. And is there a there?
Yeah. Well, and
like,
I think
I'm going to do it until I can't do it anymore because I feel so called to live out this mission and this purpose in my life.
Well, and I think that I think that's the one piece that most of us don't actually have, which we would find if we started on the work that we're avoiding. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, even if you think about Jesus as an example, which in theory he is our example, it says for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Why did he do hard things? Because he had a vision. It was you and me. Yep. It was us. Yep. He's like, I'm going to come and do these hard things. He even's praying, God, take this cup from me. I don't want to do this. That's Jesus going, I'll tap out. Like, I will tap out if you will let me tap out in this moment. I don't want to do this. He knew that he had to do the hard things to get the goal, right? The joy set before him, you and I. And so I think that sometimes I think that that's a misnomer with Christians and believers, that I shouldn't have hard things and that it's bad of hard things. It just must be the devil and and all the things. But it says all things work together for the good of those who love him. So when we continue to just seek him and seek after him, it's not that he gets rid of hard things. He gives us his will, his way, his timing to do the hard things.
Yeah. Well, and you've said it many times. We've talked about it. But like, you have to have hard, because it's not about just getting there. It's about staying there.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have the resistance, if you don't have like all the things that you've gone through with hiring, 4 team members, it's like, it's been hard every time, and adjustments and tweaking and going, oh, I got to take a few steps back to fix this and fill this hole to then move forward. But it's all been for a specific reason, because if the foundation isn't solid, you can't build.
Totally. Which, let's talk about that. So what we also don't want to confuse is someone staying in the wrong kind of hard, right? Unhealthy relationships, a business that, you and I have been there when we've been building the wrong business, So
let's give an example, because we went all in on a business.
Can you imagine us? Roofing. Let's talk about that one.
Oh, you want to talk about
which
that
one were you thinking?
Oh, I was in Turn America.
Okay, we have actually a couple.
We have a few, but here's the thing that is so important, is that each one of those experiences has helped us to be better at what we do now. So me switching a year-ish ago and now being a full-time trader, day trader, swing trader, like, that's what I do. But all the things that I've done for the last decade or longer have positioned and prepared me to be able to understand this quicker than most people.
Yeah.
And so going back to, we were Intern America was kind of the example that I was going to give. We were going to build an intern placement business based off of not just a resume, but it was about like, who are you?
Yeah.
And skill set, mindset. And we went all in with another partner, great partner. And we spent tons of time, and we got to a point that it was draining us because we were doing it the old fashioned way. So for us to scale it, we had to step it up, and we had to go digital, and we had to get, programmers in and start to do like an eHarmony meets, like Facebook meets,
it's a job recruiting company.
What is it? Job.
Yep.
But like a job, like
it'll come to me.
Not WeWork.
No. ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter. So kind of a combination, but then it was basically going to be a tech company. And so I remember meeting with a development company or some guys. And after that meeting, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a tech company. That's not my passion in building this business. We're going to have to raise millions of dollars and go down this path. And that's not the journey. So we took a hard right.
Yeah.
We actually walked away from that business and gave everything to our partner at the
Yeah.
time.
Which I think is such an incredible part to this process is that, it comes back to if you are experiencing hard right now, the first idea is that hard isn't bad. But then I think to your point, it's make sure you're picking the right kind of hard, the
Mm-hmm.
hard that's going to take you up the mountain you want to be up, the purpose that God has for your life, the hard that you can sustainably go, I'm in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in it, whether there is that deadline or not, whether it's 66 days or 66 years, like I'm in it. This is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to recognize that you're not in unhealthy relationships. I think it's important to realize that you're not in, unhealthy
Mm-hmm.
business partnerships. But I think that it's to not also avoid hard things, but don't stay in hard things that it's not the hard that you choose either.
100%. And I think through the conversations that we've had with a lot of people over the years that is a big sticking point for people. They're in the wrong thing.
Yeah.
They're picking and choosing, and they're like, well, I've been doing it this long, and you get to who they are, and really what do they want in the long run? They're climbing the wrong mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, at some level, there's going to be so much resistance there because God's like, it's not what I want you to build.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm calling you to do.
Yeah. Which is so hard. But
So what's the difference between it's so hard and I'm 3 feet from gold, or I'm building this thing and it's never going to work out because I'm doing the wrong.
So let me just walk you back to my journey, the 66-day formula, right? Is I knew the principles of the conscious competency and unconscious, all that. And then I did have my day that I was ready to hide again. I was ready to, like where you run up against those limiting beliefs and the insecurities and like, is this really going to work? And do I have it in me? And am I really a faith-filled, right, fire starter? And when I learned about the 66-day formula, it just kind of went, okay, take a deep breath and keep going, right? Then I got to day 67 and I stopped.
And I've never looked back.
I've never looked back. I've never done another push-up in my life. And I shifted into what you're talking about because you realize, all right, I got it now. Like my brain understands it. I don't feel dumb at it. I'm getting it. I actually can feel my muscles push back when I'm doing a pull-up and a push-up. You're like, I think this is what Travis has been talking about all along, right? Like all of a sudden I'm like, my body's responding, I'm getting the benefits. And then you have to decide, I will do this for the rest of my life. I will do this for the rest of my life because it's good. I'm not going to now just stop doing push-ups and never do them again. I'm not going to just stop my quiet time with the Lord because I did it for 66 days. It's a conscious decision to say, I'm accountable to this. I'm accountable to me. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. It's forever. It's why you and I got sober. It was like, we're not just going to do this for a year or 5 years. It's like, no, we're doing this because it's who we are. It's in alignment with who we are. That's where I think a huge shift happens is when you become the destination without being there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you become the goal. You're like, I'm just an embodiment of the goal. And now I'm just going to live my life until those lanes merge.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it's just evaluating where you're at, where you want to go in all areas. I mean, there's a checks and balance. And that's why we have done, and you talk to entrepreneurs or, people that, health and fitness or whatever, it is a journey. It truly is a journey, and you've got to enjoy it and ebb and flow with it and find what works for you. Cause there's different ways to get different results. But at the end of the day, are you living your purpose? Like, are you living the calling that God has on your life? And in business, or maybe you're not in business, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad or whatever that may look like. But then are you being the best that you possibly can within what God has given you to be a good steward of?
Yeah. And immediately, if someone again is sitting there going, well, but I'm not in the career that I love, or my marriage is on the rocks, or, I didn't have a dad to give me that example, or I didn't have a mom to give me that example. I think that what Travis and I are inviting you into is a mindset that says, you know what, it's going to be hard to stay on that path, and it's going to be hard to change the path. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard to, ask for help. It's going to be hard to continue doing it the way that you're doing it. And so we're inviting you into this idea of you get to pick the hard. And we're encouraging you to pick the hard based upon where you want to end up, because you're going to end up somewhere. You're going to end up at the top of a mountain, at the end of a result. And so we just want to make sure that you're looking up in the midst of the hard right now and just saying, am I on the path that's carving the pathway to ultimately the goal, the result, the dream that I want most.
Yeah.
That's what our heart is more than anything, is just get clear on what that is and start getting your reps in that are in alignment with that end target.
Yes. And to piggyback what you're saying, to make, like, if you haven't listened to our podcast before, you don't know who we are, like, we are in the midst of the journey. Like, we're farther ahead than a lot of people in different areas, but we're also continually challenging ourselves and adjusting and tweaking. So it's like being a part of a community or like-minded people that are figuring it out. It's not just like, I'm here, I'm going to show you everything that you need to know. Like, that's not how it works, because we're continually growing too. And there's different areas of our life that we go and seek out people that are further ahead than us. But it's being aware of what we feel called to and doing our absolute best to live that out.
Yeah. Love it. So if you're sitting there and you're hungry to be a part of our community, there's 2 great next steps. Number 1, we'll put in the links below. You can join our free Facebook group where we just constantly surge you with motivation and inspiration to get in line and stay in line, as Travis would say it, or if I would say it, to dream bold and live big. Or you can take an even more proactive step and join our mastermind group, which is called Dreamstorm. It's, if you go to dreamstormwithjulia.com, you will find a free guest pass. Join us. We would love to have you. And until next time, dream on.